Hi, my name's Jodelle. Welcome back to my channel. I am a business owner, so I have had the pleasure, I guess you could say, of going to a lot of meetings. I have had a lot of anxiety going into meetings. What anxiety is doing is it's getting you hyper fixated on your internal state, and it prevents you from being present in the moment. So today I'm here to help you recognize the anxiety that you might be feeling and little tips and tricks you can do to get over some of those feelings. So let's jump into it. So I break down the anxiety that I was feeling into three categories: verbal, mental, and physical. Let's start with the physical first. The physical things that I feel when I am at a meeting and I am feeling anxious is I feel a heartbeat in my throat. My heart also races. The other thing that happens, I will get sweaty palms, and that's that nervous feeling, and that it can be the worst, especially when you know that you're about to shake hands with somebody. The other feeling I get, my vision starts to feel like it is zoning in. I don't know how else to describe it, but overall it's just the sensation that I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable in my own body. I'm hyper aware of the way my jacket is sitting, a speck of dirt that might be on the corner of my shoe. Whatever it is, I become almost hyper fixated on myself, and that creates more anxiety. And so the goal there is to really try to take you out of ego, take you out of self, to get out of that vicious cycle. So the second one I want to talk about is mental. And for me, the way this shows up the biggest is the sensation that I need to leave. And I already have this, I think it's called the Irish exit. I'll be in a social setting anywhere. I will get a thought that I need to leave, and that is it. Like I want to go. Like that's it, and that's all I can think about, and it will be super abrupt. So that's something in a meeting that doesn't always serve me very well, because my intention is I want to stay and create relationships. So having that sensation come over me can be really difficult to combat because it's mental, and that can be hard because you got to think your way out of it, and your thinking is what's doing it. So it becomes very, again, a vicious kind of cycle that you find yourself in. Verbally, my voice becomes pitchy, and the tonality of my voice changes, which makes me feel uncomfortable. It can get a little high, it can get a little giggly, and that in itself are trademarks of anxiety, so then it makes me feel more anxious. I also find that all of a sudden we'll be at a loss for words that have come so easily to me in different settings. When I'm feeling anxious, all of a sudden, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything to say. I can't even remember the person's name. All of a sudden, it just goes blank. And then you're trying to remember, but then you know that you're not going to ever remember in this moment, in this environment, because now you're anxious. It's an awful feeling, and I totally sympathize with you if you have ever found yourself in that situation. The other verbal thing that happens is that you might end up using a lot of filler words, and that's words like well, I think, it's kind of. All of those are filler words, and in a video it's really easy to cut them out to make it look like I'm really snappy and succinct and I get to the point. But when you're live and you're with somebody, you're not going to be able to filter and edit out all those ums and ahs. So get really good at it, get a lot of practice, maybe just speak into a camera and start blabbing about anything, ramble on about whatever. Be really aware about those filler words that you use. What anxiety is doing is it's getting you hyper fixated on your internal state, and it prevents you from being present in the moment. And so when you're hyper fixated on the internal, on the ego, and you are not present in what's happening, that is like the Ouroboros. That's the snake eating its tail, and it is a vicious cycle, and it's so hard to get out of. So if that hyper fixation on the internal is what's happening, you want to look for an external subject to fixate on. And so engaging in conversation or asking questions is a really great way to get you out of self, get you out of being the one that has to talk. Have a couple questions prepared, write them down if you have to, and go up to somebody and ask them a question, and then ask them another question about it. Oh, how did that make you feel? Oh, what did you do then? And that will just keep them talking. That will create a calming effect on you and maybe spark some ideas where you'll be able to add to this conversation now without having to just think of it organically or come up with something amazing. It'll kind of take some of the thinking out of it for you. So what did I do to get out of this feeling of anxiety? Because let me tell you, I never wanted to stay for meetings ever. I did not want to talk to anybody. I was so incredibly awkward and just totally check out from the social setting that I was in. So I made tiny goals for myself, and I started small. Some of the smallest goals I can remember making are that I had to walk the length of the room and back. before I could leave. And that was as simple as that. I mean, that is where I started. I didn't set a high expectation for myself in that way. It was just simply getting through the feeling of walking through a crowd, thinking everybody's looking at me, but getting comfortable with that because it's probably not as dire or intense as you're making it out to be. It's kind of that spotlight effect. You think everybody's really hyper fixated on you, but everybody else is thinking the same thing about themselves. The next little goal that I had made for myself was I had to speak to 2 people before I was allowed to leave. And this one really was very successful for me because then I was looking for opportunities to engage with people or let them engage with me. That was an easy out for me because then I didn't even have to start anything. As long as I talked to 2 people, I was good. Then I gave myself the out and I could go if I wanted. And what I found was that less and less I was chomping at the bit to leave. That sensation of wanting to leave had alleviated a little. And it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to stay, it was that my compulsion to leave wasn't as strong. And that felt really good. It felt really good to genuinely be interested in the people around me and to want to learn and grow from their experiences. You could also give yourself a time limit goal, and that is just to stay for 20 minutes. Maybe you don't have to talk to anybody, but you gotta feel real uncomfortable sitting there for 20 minutes, hanging out, whatever. But it's also a way to get comfortable in the silence, in the doing nothing. If you have never gone out for dinner by yourself and not gone on your phone and really let that awkwardness come in, that is a great opportunity to train for meetings and being okay standing there watching everybody talk, and maybe you'll feel a little less awkward because you've had some practice at just being still. So some other things I did to alleviate my anxiety was to do a lot of research on body language and become really aware of my body language. I found that I would cross my legs, that I would clasp my hands together, and there were certain things I was doing that was really feeding into that sense of anxiety where this makes me feel anxious. We've all seen the video where they have the superwoman pose or the Superman pose, and that is supposed to fill you with that confidence. That is body language. That is communicating to your brain that you have the confidence to do the next thing. There's that saying, fake it till you make it. That is where that saying comes in really handy. Have that body language, open up your shoulders, plant your feet on the ground, don't dance back and forth, and have your hands open. Don't wring them, don't get that into that prayer pose. Really just be confident in taking up the space around you and convey your message in purposeful ways. So I already touched on this, but I really started focusing on others. You could walk up to somebody and say, hey, I love your outfit. That color looks really great on you. That's a compliment is such an easy way and such an easy win to get into a conversation. Make sure it's genuine. Make sure you actually like the color of the jacket. Make sure you actually think it looks good on the person before you go up and say it, or else it's gonna feel disingenuous and then you're gonna look like an ass kisser, and that's not the aim of this at all. You're looking for an opening that makes you feel comfortable and also puts the other person at ease, and sometimes that is the low-hanging fruit, is just to compliment them on something that you see, especially in the beginning when you're practicing it. Use the easy stuff first. You want to build this muscle, you want to build your skill set, you want to build your confidence. And this is how you're going to do it. You're not going to get from 0 to 100 in one meeting. You want to chunk it down. You want to take small bites. You want to build your confidence so that if you get rebuffed, it doesn't shatter your whole persona that you just tried to make. It just knocks you down maybe a peg. But you still built this really strong foundation where maybe you're starting at 10 now instead of 0. And that's how you're gonna get stronger and stronger. You're gonna have a really full tool chest of tools that you use at your disposal that are gonna create the most confident version of yourself and get you out of feeling anxious. It's all little tools that you're putting in your tool chest that you can draw from. Not one is going to be the silver bullet, the solution to all your problems. It is going to be teeny tiny little things that you do that really help with anxiety and help boost your confidence. So I wish you the best of luck. If you're struggling, please reach out. I would love to help or give you suggestions in any way that I can. And if you like what you saw and you like the video, you like me, then sub if you love, and I will catch you in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.